Somewhere in a storage facility in New Mexico, there is a cassette tape. A man recorded his own voice onto it, calm, flat, polite almost. Then he played it for every person he ever chained to a table inside his soundproof trailer, so they would hear exactly what was about to happen to them before he even walked through the door. Police have that tape. Every investigator who has listened to it says the same thing afterward. They wish they hadn't. This man operated for 40 years in a quiet desert town. He had neighbors, he had a job, he waved at people in the street, and nobody, not one person, had any idea what was parked behind his house. There are people alive today who were inside that trailer. They remember nothing. He made sure of that. This is not fiction. His name was David Parker Ray. He was not a drifter, not a loner in the woods, not someone who looked wrong or moved strangely or set off any alarm in anyone who met him. He was a Parks Department maintenance man. He fixed engines for the state of New Mexico and went home at the end of every shift. He lived in a small town called Truth or Consequences, a resort area on a lake full of tourists, retirees, and people who minded their own business. He had been married 4 times. He had a daughter. He had colleagues who liked him. And behind his house, in the dry desert heat, sat a cargo trailer that he had spent over $100,000 building from the inside out. $100,000 spent over decades on one trailer. Every dollar deliberately chosen. Every item researched, ordered, installed with purpose. He called it the toy box. The trailer was fully soundproofed. Not a sound from inside could reach the outside. He had tested this. He had made certain. At the center of the trailer was a gynecologist's examination table bolted to the floor. Above it, mounted to the ceiling, a large mirror, angled so that whoever was strapped to the table could see themselves and see everything being done to them. On the walls hung hand-drawn diagrams, detailed, clinical. Methods for inflicting pain organized by category. Whips, chains, surgical blades, leg spreader bars, electric shock equipment, saws. A fur-lined coffin in the corner, elaborate locks and pulleys to prevent escape. FBI investigators would later say that walking into that trailer was unlike anything they had encountered in their careers. Think about this. He built the mirror so victims could see themselves, not for him, for them. He wanted them to watch. That tells you everything about what kind of mind built this room. Now we need to talk about the tape. Every time David Parker Ray brought someone to the toy box, he waited for them to regain consciousness. Chained, blindfolded, disoriented. Then he pressed play. His own voice filled the room, calm and specific. He told them exactly what was going to happen, what he would do, in what order, what the rules were, what would happen if they did not follow those rules. He was not improvising. This was not rage. This was a script he had written, recorded, and perfected over years. The tape ran for approximately 30 minutes. It is considered one of the most disturbing pieces of evidence in the history of American criminal investigation. Hello there. Are you comfortable right now? I doubt it. Wrists and ankles chained, gagged, probably blindfolded. You are disoriented and scared too, I would imagine. This was not random. Ray had a system built over decades and he operated it with discipline. He targeted vulnerable women, women whose disappearances were less likely to trigger immediate investigations. He would hold each victim for 2 to 3 months. Then, if he chose to release them rather than kill them, he administered a heavy cocktail of barbiturates, drugs designed to induce profound amnesia. He would then drive them to a remote stretch of road and leave them there, disoriented, confused, with no memory of where they had been or what had been done to them. They reported nothing. They remembered nothing, because he had chemically erased it. This was not a flaw in his plan. This was the plan. There are women alive right now who were in that trailer and have no memory of it. They never reported anything, because they could not remember anything to report. He did not work alone. His girlfriend, Cindy Hendy, participated in the abductions and the torture. His own daughter, Glenda, was involved. Friends were invited. Ray had spent years selecting, grooming, and controlling the people around him. He had built a circle of people who either participated willingly or were too afraid to speak. This was not a secret he carried silently inside himself. It was something he shared, carefully, strategically, which raises a question that nobody has been able to fully answer. How many other people knew what was behind that house and never said a word? In a small town, on a quiet street, for 40 years. Question still unanswered. His daughter participated. His girlfriend participated. His friends were invited. In a small town where everyone knows everyone, and not one person reported anything for 40 years. Nobody knows how many victims there were. Not investigators, not prosecutors, not the accomplices who testified. Nobody knows. Ray told one of his former wives that he committed his first murder in 1957, a woman he kidnapped, tied to a tree, and murdered in the desert. Authorities could not verify it, but they had no reason to doubt him. From 1957 to 1999 is 42 years. FBI analysts estimated the toy box had been actively in use since the mid-1980s. Inside, they found journals, photographs, videotapes cataloging years of abuse. Investigators believe up to 60 women may have been killed. Not one body has ever been found. 60 estimated victims. 60. That is the number investigators believe. Not confirmed, not charged, because there are no bodies. Not one. The desert kept every single secret he gave it. It ended because of one woman. Her name was Cynthia Vigil. On March 19th, 1999, a man approached her in an Albuquerque parking lot, told her he was an undercover police officer, and put her in the back of his car. 3 days later, while Ray was at work and Cindy Hendy was momentarily distracted, Cynthia found the key to her restraints. She freed herself. She fought. She stabbed Cindy Hendy in the neck with an ice pick and ran through the door. She ran barefoot and naked down a New Mexico street, a metal choker collar still locked around her neck. She ran until she found a house. She knocked on the door, and she brought 40 years to an end. She ran, barefoot, collared, bleeding. Nobody stopped when they saw her on the road. One car drove past a barefoot, bleeding woman with a collar around her neck and kept going. She knocked on a stranger's door. That is what ended this. When investigators entered the toy box, they stopped. Veterans, people who had spent careers processing some of the worst crime scenes in New Mexico history. They walked in, and they stopped moving. What Ray had built was not a room where violence occasionally happened. It was a room designed, engineered, and continuously improved over decades for one specific purpose: the total destruction of a human being's sense of self, safety, and reality. The mirror above the table, the diagrams on the walls, the tape already loaded in the player, the medical equipment, the custom restraints, the fur-lined coffin. Ray was eventually sentenced to 224 years in prison. He died in his cell in May 2002. He died before investigators could question him further, before he could tell them where any of the bodies were. Gone, May 2002. He died with every location, every name, every secret. He took all of it with him, and the investigation into his potential victims effectively ended the day he died. The bodies were never found, not one. Across 42 years and an estimated 60 victims, not a single body has ever been recovered from the New Mexico desert. Investigators searched. They followed every lead from every accomplice who testified. The desert gave them nothing. There are families right now who reported a daughter, a sister, a friend missing somewhere in New Mexico or Arizona between the 1950s and 1999 and never got an answer. Some of those answers may be buried in that desert, and somewhere in a storage facility, that cassette tape still exists. His voice, calm and flat, explaining everything in careful detail, ready to be pressed play. The tape exists, the journals exist, the photographs exist. 60 potential victims, 0 bodies, 0 answers. The case is technically closed. The desert is not talking.